Hey everybody, this is a clip from a larger video on solving exponential equations. Specifically, this is when you cannot get a power equal to a power with the bases being the same. So we end up using logs to be able to solve those equations. I'm hoping that this problem helps you out. It really is an introductory problem. It takes you step by step. Good luck. Now we're going to take a look at problem C, and problem C is going to look significantly uglier. I want to walk my way through how to solve that equation using a new strategy. First part is I have to solve for x, and I notice where that variable is. It's up in the exponent. That means I have to get it out. And so my first look is, can I get a power equal to a power base the same? It's not going to be very easy to write 130 as a power base 5, and so my decision pretty quickly becomes I'm going to take the log of both sides. Now that I have taken the log of both sides, and I notice that on the left side I have a single power inside my log, I can move my exponent out in front. Now I want you to take a look at that line that I just wrote, because there's an error in it. This is going to be a common mistake for us, and we have to be very focused on it. Notice up in that first red line, I have two terms in my exponent. And if I have two terms in my exponent, then I need to make sure that I bring that whole exponent out in front, and I attach that whole exponent by multiply. So make sure that we have brackets around that entire exponent to make sure we have the correct operation. Now that I get to that point, I'm going to step aside over onto the right because I want us to see that that's actually a grade 9 equation you have sitting in front of you. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make an alternate equation here so we may be able to see it a little bit clearer. I'm going to say, let's replace my log 5 with just like an easier number, like 5. And let's replace my log 130 with an easier number, 7. I want you to take a peek that those two equations in red and blue are the same. Log 5 is a number, an ugly number, but just a number. As well, log 130. So in blue, you'll see I just replaced them with two other numbers that are easier to work with. Now, we examine that. Let's jump through. Take a look at the blue equation, and what would you do to be able to solve that blue equation? Well, because that 5 does not divide into the 7 evenly, we're probably going to go through and expand that 5 into the brackets. So let's do the same thing with this equation. That's going to give me a 2x log 5 plus a 3 log 5 equals log 130. A small note. Notice the way we write that. When I took 2x and I multiplied it by log 5, we write it as 2x log 5 because then we don't need brackets. I do want you to notice how it can get a little confusing if I had written it as 2 log 5 times x. A question arises. Is this x inside the log, or is it 2 log 5 multiplied by x? The way we can avoid all the confusion and having to avoid writing unnecessary brackets is to write it in this form. Okay, if I take my blue equation, I now got down to 2x times 5. I know that's horrible form, but we want to see it. Plus 3 times 5 equals 7. Okay, what would you do next to be able to go through and solve the blue equation? Well, we're going to get rid of this 15 to be able to isolate our variable term. So let's get rid of our 3 log 5 to isolate our variable term. That's going to give me, and now on the right side, I need to subtract 3 log 5. Okay, we get to that point in the blue, and I just want you to notice that I'm going to write down a line as if you couldn't collect the 7 and the 15. Because notice, we can't collect the log 130 minus 3 log 5. Okay. What would you do next to be able to solve the blue equation? Well, we're going to now have to take everything attached to the x, the 2 and the 5, and since they're attached through multiply, we're going to have to divide it out. So let's take everything attached to that x, and let's divide it out. And so now my x is isolated, and I have a really ugly log 130 minus 3 log 5, now all divided by 2 log 5. There we go. We are all done. I just want to draw to your attention one key thing. I'm going to simplify my blue equation now a little bit, at least to that. And I just want to draw to our attention. I know that there is nobody who goes, hey, I can divide out a common factor of 5 from there. Because you notice that on top, you have 2 terms. And the only way you can divide out a common factor is if you divide it out of all terms. So no one is going to think, hey, I can divide out a log 5 here. No, because it's not going to divide into log 130. For anybody who says, but wait a second, 5 goes into 130, be careful. There is no 130 on that top. It is a log 130. So what you end up seeing then in that final red expression is our final simplified form. Okay, now we're going to jump into some stuff that gets a little bit uglier as we go. The exact same process we worked through in red.